A mother abandoned her disabled daughter on a busy street. A billionaire found her. What he did next will shock you. This is Madison and 52nd Street, New York City. 3:47 on a Tuesday afternoon. Rush hour chaos. Glass towers reaching toward a brutal sun. Thousands of people flooding the sidewalks. Car horns screaming. The relentless roar of the city. And standing completely still in the middle of it all, one little girl, alone. Her name is Nia Brooks, 6 years old, wearing a burgundy dress and dark sunglasses, leg braces catching the harsh light, white cane gripped in one small hand, brown teddy bear named Honey clutched in the other. She's exhausted, terrified, trying not to cry. Her mother pinned a note to her dress 2 hours ago and disappeared into the crowd. Hundreds of people rushed past without stopping, businessmen stepping around her, women pulling their children away, everyone pretending she's invisible. Sometimes the people who find you become the family you were always meant to have. This is Nia's story. Before we dive into this story, drop your location in the comments right now. Tell me where you're watching from, because what happens next will restore your faith in humanity. Nia's legs hurt. They always hurt, but standing this long made the pain sharper, climbing from her ankles up through her knees. The metal braces felt heavy. Her fingers ached from gripping the white cane so tight. Honey the bear was getting sweaty in her other hand, but she couldn't let go. Mama said to hold on to Honey. Mama said someone kind would come. The sun was so bright it made her head pound behind the dark sunglasses. She could hear everything. Thousands of footsteps rushing past, heels clicking, sneakers scuffing, the whoosh of fabric as people moved around her like water around a rock. Car engines growled, horns screamed. Someone's perfume was too strong. A man's voice yelled into a phone. Nobody stopped. She'd been standing on this corner for 2 hours. Her bladder was full. Her stomach was empty. She was so tired she wanted to lie down right there on the sidewalk. But Mama said, "Don't move. Stand here. Be good. Someone kind will come." That morning felt like a lifetime ago. Mama had been crying in the shelter bathroom, the one with the broken lock and the flickering light. Nia heard her through the door, those awful choking sounds that meant Mama couldn't breathe right. When she came out, her eyes were swollen. "We have to go, baby," Mama whispered, packing their 2 bags with shaking hands. They'd been evicted 3 days before, slept in the car until it got towed. The shelter only let them stay 2 nights. Mama's phone was dead. The electricity at their old apartment had been cut off weeks ago. LaToya Brooks had $8 in her pocket and a daughter who needed medications they couldn't afford. Therapy sessions they'd missed for 6 months. Leg braces that didn't fit right anymore. She'd hit her breaking point in that bathroom. Looked at herself in the cracked mirror and saw a mother who was failing. Saw a future where Nia got sicker, suffered more, while LaToya watched helpless. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes love means making the choice that destroys you. She'd written the note with a pen borrowed from the shelter desk, her handwriting messy through the tears. Her name is Nia Brooks. She is 6 years old. She has cerebral palsy. I have nothing left. Please be kind to her. She deserves kindness. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Her birthday is March 14th. She loves strawberries and her bear's name is Honey. Please tell her I love her. She pinned it to Nia's burgundy dress with shaking fingers. Walked her to Madison and 52nd because it was busy, because someone there would have money, would have resources, would see her. She crouched down, smoothed Nia's hair, kissed her forehead. Stand right here, baby. Don't move. Someone kind is going to find you. Someone who can give you what I can't. Be brave, okay? You're so brave. Nia nodded, not understanding, just trusting. LaToya stood up, looked back once. Her daughter's small figure already disappearing into the crowd. Then she turned and walked away before she could change her mind, tears streaming, heart shattering with every step. Now Nia stood alone, reciting Mama's words like a prayer. Stand here, someone kind will come. Don't move, stand here. Someone kind will come. The sun beat down, the crowd rushed past, and nobody stopped. Nobody stopped. Daniel Prescott had stopped feeling things years ago. It was easier that way. Easier to sit through hostile board meetings where investors questioned every decision. Easier to smile through failed merger talks that cost the company $60 million. Easier to ignore the tension headache drilling into his skull. Easier to swipe away Jennifer's text without reading past, "You're never available anymore." He was 41 years old, self-made, CEO of Prescott Digital Solutions, featured in Forbes 3 times, worth $3.2 billion on paper, and he felt absolutely nothing. Marcus navigated the black Mercedes through Manhattan traffic with practiced efficiency, the tinted windows turning the chaos outside into a muted film. Daniel scrolled through emails he'd already read twice, his thumb moving automatically. Another complaint from the CFO, another invitation to a charity gala he wouldn't attend. Another red light, Madison and 42nd. The car stopped. Daniel glanced up out of habit, his eyes unfocused on the crowd. Then he saw her, a little girl, standing completely still while hundreds of people flowed around her. Burgundy dress, dark sunglasses, something metal gleaming on her legs, white cane, teddy bear. He watched a businessman in a gray suit step around her without even looking down. He watched a woman pull her own child away, creating distance, whispering something. Something twisted in Daniel's chest, something he hadn't felt in so long he almost didn't recognize it. "Stop the car." Marcus glanced in the rearview mirror. "Sir, we're late for—" "I said stop the car." The urgency in his own voice surprised him. Marcus pulled to the curb. Daniel was already opening the door, stepping onto the sidewalk into the noise and heat and crush of humanity. His $2,000 shoes hit concrete. His hand left his phone behind on the leather seat. He moved through the crowd toward her, slowing as he got close. She was so small, 6, maybe 7, trembling slightly, her knuckles white around the cane handle. "Are you kind?" The words stopped him cold. She turned her head toward his approaching footsteps, and those 3 words came out quiet, almost a whisper, but they hit him like a punch. Daniel's heart broke. Actually broke. Something cracked open inside his chest that he'd sealed shut when Maya died, when his sister took her last breath and left him alone in a world that only wanted his money. He saw the note then, pinned to her dress. His hands shook as he leaned closer to read it. "Her name is Nia Brooks. She is 6 years old. She has cerebral palsy. I have nothing left. Please be kind to her." He read it 3 times, each word carved deeper. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Please tell her I love her." Daniel crouched down slowly, bringing himself to her eye level, even though she couldn't see him. His throat was so tight he could barely speak. "My name is Daniel," he managed. "Yes, I'm kind. Will you let me help you?" Nia's small hand reached out, uncertain, searching. Her fingers found his sleeve, gripped the expensive fabric like a lifeline. In that moment, Daniel felt everything. The weight of her trust, the terror of responsibility, the sudden clarity that his entire life had been leading to this sidewalk, this child, this choice. "Let's get you somewhere safe," he said, and meant it more than he'd meant anything in 20 years. Daniel lifted Nia into his arms, and she weighed almost nothing, just bones and braces and worn fabric, and a teddy bear pressed between them. She stiffened at first, then melted against his shoulder with a small sound that broke him all over again. Marcus's face in the rearview mirror was pure shock. Mouth slightly open, eyes wide. 20 years he'd driven Daniel Prescott, and he'd never seen the man carry anything more personal than a briefcase. "Tribeca," Daniel said quietly. Fast, but smooth. The drive took 18 minutes through gridlock traffic. Nia stayed perfectly still against his chest, her breathing shallow, her small fingers twisted in his shirt. Daniel found himself adjusting his hold every few seconds, terrified of hurting her, of holding her wrong, of failing before he even started. The elevator opened directly into his penthouse, 6,000 square feet of architectural perfection, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson. Modern furniture and clean lines, everything white and chrome and expensive and absolutely, devastatingly empty. The space swallowed them. Nia's head turned slowly, taking in sounds. The echo of their footsteps, the hum of climate control, the vast silence. Daniel saw his home through her awareness and felt ashamed. No softness anywhere. No warmth. No sign that anything alive existed here besides furniture and technology and cold, perfect surfaces. He settled her on the white leather sofa, and she looked impossibly small against it, like a doll someone forgot. He found a throw blanket in the hall closet, cashmere, never used, and draped it around her shoulders. "I'm going to make some calls," he said gently. "I'll be right here. I'm not leaving." She nodded, clutching Honey tighter. Daniel pulled out his phone, his hands steadier now that he had a plan. First call. Dr. Reeves, his personal physician. "I need you at my place in 20 minutes. Pediatric evaluation, yes, now. I'll explain when you get here." Second call. Rosa, his housekeeper. "I need children's clothes, size 6, and groceries. Kid-friendly food, whatever kids eat. I don't know. Just, please, Rosa. It's urgent." Rosa had worked for him for 8 years and never asked questions. She asked 3 in 30 seconds. Daniel answered none of them. "Just come. Please." By the time he hung up, Nia had curled onto her side, the blanket pulled up to her chin, Honey gripped against her face. Her breathing had deepened. Sleep took her fast, the kind of exhaustion that comes from terror and pain, and standing for hours waiting for kindness. Daniel sat in the chair across from her and watched her sleep. She looked even younger like this, vulnerable in a way that made his chest physically ache. He thought of Maya, his baby sister with the bright laugh and the bald head, 9 years old when the leukemia finally won. He'd been 21, helpless, watching her fade in a hospital bed, while machines beeped and his parents fell apart, and he swore he'd never feel that powerless again. So he'd built an empire, made billions, controlled everything he could possibly control, and still ended up empty. His phone buzzed. Jennifer's name lit up the screen. "Dinner at 8. Don't be late again." Daniel looked at Nia sleeping on his sofa, looked at the message, looked back at this child who'd asked if he was kind. He turned off his phone. For the first time in 20 years, something mattered more than his schedule. Dr. Reeves arrived in 14 minutes, medical bag in hand, questions on his face. Daniel led him to the sofa where Nia still slept, curled impossibly small under the cashmere blanket. The doctor's examination was gentle, checking her vitals, her reflexes, carefully assessing the leg braces, the muscle tone, the way her body compensated for weakness. When he finished, his expression was grave. "She has moderate to severe cerebral palsy, untreated for months, maybe longer. She needs ongoing care, orthopedic surgery to release the contractures in her legs, intensive physical therapy, custom bracing, probably medication for pain management. We're looking at a comprehensive treatment plan over years, not months." "Cost?" Daniel asked. Dr. Reeves hesitated. "Conservatively, 400,000 minimum. Could be more depending on complications." Daniel didn't blink. "Schedule everything. Best surgeons, best facilities. I don't care what it costs." "Daniel, schedule everything." The sound of a key in the lock made them both turn. Jennifer walked in, designer heels clicking on marble, phone in one hand, irritation already set in her expression. She stopped cold when she saw the doctor. Then her eyes found Nia on the sofa. "What the hell is this?" Daniel stood, positioning himself between Jennifer and the sleeping child. "Her name is Nia. Her mother abandoned her on Madison Avenue. I found her." "So call the police." Jennifer's voice rose sharp. "Social services. You can't just bring a random child into your home." "I already did." Daniel's voice was quiet, but steel ran through it. "I already called her my responsibility." Jennifer stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "She's disabled, Daniel. Do you understand what you're signing up for? The time? The money? The... Do you hear yourself right now?" The coldness in his tone froze her mid-sentence. Dr. Reeves quietly excused himself, closing the door softly behind him. Jennifer's face flushed. "I'm being realistic. You're throwing away everything for some crippled street kid who isn't even yours. Your company needs you. The IPO is in 3 months. The board is already questioning your focus, and now you're going to, what? Play savior to a disabled orphan? Something dark and final settled in Daniel's chest. Get out. Excuse me? Get out. Jennifer's eyes flashed. She took 3 steps toward him, close enough that he could smell her perfume. Expensive. Suffocating. Choose right now, me or her. Daniel looked past her to where Nia slept, her small chest rising and falling, honey clutched against her heart. He looked back at Jennifer and felt absolutely nothing. I already have. For a moment, she just stared. Then fury twisted her features. You're going to regret this. When the board forces you out, when she ruins your life, when you realize how in over your head you are, you'll regret it. She grabbed her purse, her keys, stormed to the door. The slam echoed through the cavernous penthouse. Silence rushed back in. Daniel stood in the middle of his empty living room and realized something stunning. He felt lighter than he had in years. The weight of pretending, of maintaining, of performing the role of the man everyone expected, gone. Just gone. On the sofa, Nia stirred slightly but didn't wake. Daniel sat back down in his chair and started making calls. First to his lawyer, then to social services, then to every specialist Dr. Reeves had mentioned. He had work to do. 6 months changed everything. Rosa became Nia's gentle guardian during daylight hours, teaching her the layout of the penthouse through touch and patience, cooking meals that actually tasted like comfort, braiding her hair with careful fingers. Daniel rearranged his entire schedule, pushed morning meetings to afternoon, declined evening events, walked out of conference calls at 5:45 to be home by 6. His assistant stopped arguing after the second week. The first night, Nia woke screaming at 2 a.m. Nightmares. Calling for her mama in a voice so broken, it shattered Daniel where he stood in her doorway. He held her until dawn, rocking slowly, whispering promises he prayed he could keep. First breakfast together, she asked permission to eat. Can I have some? Pointing at the scrambled eggs with trembling fingers. Daniel realized with crushing clarity that she'd been trained to be invisible, to not ask, to not need, to not take up space. He spent the next hour teaching her she was allowed to be hungry. Physical therapy 3 times a week. Nia crying from pain as they stretched muscles that had been tight for years. Daniel learned to coach her through, counting breaths, celebrating millimeters of progress, holding her hand when she sobbed that she couldn't do it anymore. The surgery to release the contractures in her legs lasted 4 hours. Daniel wore a path in the waiting room floor. When the surgeon said successful, he had to sit down before his knees gave out. New custom leg braces arrived 2 weeks later, designed by the best pediatric specialist in the country. Lighter, better fitted. Nia cried when she put them on because they didn't hurt. Mark Hastings called. The board is concerned about your priorities. Daniel didn't hesitate. Tell the board I've never been more clear about my priorities. The media leaked it eventually. Tech billionaire's secret daughter? The headlines were invasive and wrong, and Daniel stopped reading after the first 3. His lawyers started adoption paperwork that same day. Social services opened an investigation, home studies, background checks, hours of interviews. The caseworker, Ms. Chen, was skeptical at first. Rich men don't usually adopt disabled children off streets. But after watching Daniel help Nia through a therapy session, her expression softened. You're serious about this? More serious than anything I've ever done. Small victories became their currency. Nia's first genuine laugh when Rosa told a ridiculous story. Learning to trust that Daniel would come back every time he left. Calling Rosa Tia and making the woman burst into tears. These moments mattered more than quarterly earnings. One evening, Nia asked the question Daniel had been waiting for. Why did you stop your car? He knelt down to her level, took her small hands. Because you were brave enough to stand there waiting. Someone had to be brave enough to see you. She was quiet for a long moment, then barely audible. I'm glad it was you. 6 months to the day, Daniel signed the adoption petition. His hand shook over the signature line, not from doubt, but from the weight of finally doing something that mattered. Nia sat beside him, patient, listening to the pen scratch paper. Does this mean you're keeping me forever? Daniel's throat closed. This means you're stuck with me forever. If you want me. Her smile was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. I want you. The papers were filed the next morning. Father and daughter. Legal. Real. Chosen. 18 months after Daniel stopped his car on Madison Avenue, they sat in a pre-op room at Mount Sinai. Nia was 8 now, small for her age, wearing a hospital gown that swallowed her. Dr. Sarah Kim had scheduled the major reconstructive surgery. 8 hours to correct bone alignment, release contractures, rebuild what years of neglect had damaged. The goal, unassisted walking with extensive physical therapy. The risk, significant. Complications, permanent damage, loss of mobility. Nia gripped Daniel's hand so tight her knuckles went white. What if I can't do it? What if I'm not strong enough? Daniel knelt beside the gurney, eye level with his daughter. His daughter. The words still made his chest ache with fierce love. You're the strongest person I've ever met, and I'll be right here when you wake up. Promise? Her voice cracked. Don't leave the hospital. I promise. The nurse came. Time to go. Nia was wheeled toward the operating room doors, looking back over her shoulder, waving with fingers that trembled. Daniel waved back, smiling until she disappeared through the double doors. Then his legs gave out. The waiting room swallowed him. Sterile chairs, fluorescent lights, a television nobody watched. Daniel collapsed into a seat and time became meaningless. Rosa arrived 30 minutes later with coffee he wouldn't drink and prayers she whispered in Spanish, clutching her rosary. He was grateful for her presence, even though he couldn't speak. Hour 1 crawled. Hour 2 dragged. Daniel paced, 17 steps from the window to the coffee station. Turn. Repeat. His phone buzzed with emails he couldn't read. Calls he ignored. Marcus texted asking if he needed anything. Daniel didn't respond. Hour 3, he tried to sit. Couldn't. Stood at the window watching traffic below, wondering how the world kept moving when Nia was on an operating table, with her chest cut open and her bones being realigned. Hour 4, the memories came. Maya in a hospital bed just like this. 20 years ago, but it felt like yesterday. The final surgery that was supposed to help. The doctor emerging with defeat in his eyes. The words Daniel would never forget. We did everything we could. I'm sorry. Hour 5. Daniel locked himself in the bathroom and couldn't breathe. Panic attack. Full blown. He pressed his forehead against the cold tile wall and gasped. I can't lose another one. Please. I can't lose another one. Rosa found him. She was 62 and 4'11" and had held his life together for years. She gripped his shoulders and made him look at her. That little girl is a fighter. She's coming back to you. Hour 6. Daniel bargained with God, the universe, anyone listening. Take anything. His money, his company, his remaining years. Just bring her back. Hour 7. Rosa made him drink water. He threw it up 10 minutes later. Hour 8. The doors opened. Dr. Kim emerged, surgical cap still on, exhaustion in every line of her face. But she was smiling. The surgery was successful. She did beautifully. Daniel's knees nearly buckled. Rosa caught him. He was 43 years old, worth billions, controlled empires, and he wept like a child in a hospital waiting room because his daughter was going to be okay. The recovery room was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors and the mechanical sigh of breathing equipment. Nia looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, dwarfed by white sheets and medical machinery. Breathing tubes, IV lines, heavy bandages wrapped around both legs from hip to toe, the casts bulky and pristine white. Her face was pale, peaceful, still lost in the artificial sleep of anesthesia. Daniel sat in the chair pulled close to her bedside, holding her hand. His thumb traced gentle circles over her knuckles. He watched her breathe, In, out, in, out, and felt like he was learning the rhythm for the first time. Every breath was a gift. Every heartbeat on the monitor was proof she'd survived. 2 hours passed. Nurses came and went, checking vitals, adjusting drips, making notes on clipboards. Daniel didn't move except to shift his grip when his fingers went numb. Rosa had gone home to rest. Marcus was somewhere in the building. The world continued without Daniel, and he didn't care at all. Then Nia's eyes fluttered. A small movement, her eyelids struggling against the weight of medication. Confusion crossed her features as consciousness pulled her back. She blinked slowly, trying to focus, trying to remember where she was. "Daddy?" The word was barely a whisper, scratchy from the breathing tube they'd removed an hour ago, but it destroyed him. Daniel's tears came fast, and he didn't try to stop them. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." Her eyes found him, still glassy but present, real, alive. "Did it work?" He squeezed her hand gently. "Dr. Kim says you did perfectly. Better than perfectly. But it's going to be hard work now, okay? Months of therapy. It's going to hurt sometimes." Nia was quiet for a moment, processing through the fog of medication. Then so soft he almost missed it. "Will you help me?" "Every single step." His voice broke on the last word. "I promise. Every single step." She smiled, actually smiled, the corners of her mouth lifting despite the exhaustion, despite the pain medication, despite everything her small body had just endured. "Okay." Her eyes drifted closed again, sleep pulling her back under, but the smile remained, and her fingers stayed wrapped around his. Daniel sat there watching her breathe, counting each one like a prayer answered. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. Finally, he checked. Mark Hastings, 3 messages. The last one. "IPO meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Your presence is not optional. The board expects you there." Daniel looked at his daughter sleeping in the hospital bed, looked at the monitors tracking her recovery, looked at her hand still holding his. He typed back, "I'm not coming to the IPO meeting tomorrow." Mark's response was immediate. "You'll regret this." Daniel almost laughed. He glanced at Nia, at the miracle of her survival, at the future they were building together. He typed his final message and turned off his phone. "No, I really won't." Then he settled back in his chair, held his daughter's hand, and stayed exactly where he belonged. The months after surgery were harder than the surgery itself. Physical therapy 3 times a week became their new normal. Stretching, strengthening, relearning movement patterns that Nia's body had never learned correctly the first time. She cried through most sessions. Not quiet tears, but gut-wrenching sobs that broke Daniel's heart while he stood outside the therapy room, hands pressed against the observation window, helpless. But Nia was determined. Even through tears, even through pain that made her gasp, she showed up. She tried. She pushed. Daniel learned to be what she needed. Cheerleader when she wanted to quit. Coach when she needed structure. Soft place to land when the world felt too hard. He'd never been any of those things before. Turned out love was a better teacher than any business school. Small victories became their milestones. Standing with parallel bars for 30 seconds. Taking 3 assisted steps. Then 5. Then 10. Walking with a walker from the therapy table to the door. These weren't footnotes. They were triumphs celebrated with tears and high fives and Rosa's homemade empanadas. But there were setbacks. Days when Nia's legs hurt so badly she couldn't get out of bed. Days when frustration overwhelmed determination and she sobbed into her pillow. "I can't do this. I can't." Daniel would sit beside her, hand on her back. "You don't have to do it alone. We're a team." And somehow that was enough to try again tomorrow. Rosa became the queen of rewards, cooking Nia's favorite meals after difficult sessions. Strawberry pancakes, chicken with rice and extra sofrito, flan that melted on the tongue. Food was love in Rosa's language, and Nia was fluent. Nia's 8th birthday came 2 years after Daniel found her on that corner. He threw a small party. Rosa, Marcus, Dr. Kim, Sam the physical therapist. Nia wore a yellow dress and a paper crown and laughed so hard she snorted. Daniel gave her a charm bracelet with a single tiny teddy bear charm. She cried and immediately put it on, refusing to take it off even for sleep. Sam, the physical therapist who'd worked with Nia since the beginning, pulled Daniel aside one day after a session. She's exceeding every projection we made. Her determination is extraordinary. 1 year post-surgery, Nia walked 50 feet with forearm crutches. No brakes. No stopping. Daniel filmed it on his phone with shaking hands and watched it 17 times that night. The penthouse transformed. Daniel replaced the cold white furniture with softer pieces, blues and creams and textures that felt warm. Nia's artwork covered the walls. Photos everywhere. Nia laughing, Nia concentrating in therapy, Nia and Rosa baking, father and daughter on the couch reading. The space finally felt like a home instead of a museum. School enrollment came next. Third grade at a private school with accessible facilities and a reputation for inclusion. Nia was nervous, excited, terrified all at once. Daniel walked her to class the first day, her backpack decorated with teddy bear patches, her hand gripping his. At the classroom door, she looked back. "You'll be here after?" Daniel crouched down, eye level. "Always." She believed him. After 2 years, she finally believed him. Nia walked into the classroom on her forearm crutches, head high, and Daniel stood in the hallway watching until she disappeared from view. Then he went to the car and cried. His daughter was thriving. 2 years after the surgery, Saturday morning light poured through the penthouse windows. Daniel stood at the stove flipping pancakes. Actual pancakes, not burnt disasters. He'd learned to cook. Rosa folded laundry in the living room, humming something soft in Spanish. Nia was in her room, supposedly getting dressed. Then Daniel heard footsteps. Soft, uneven, but footsteps. Without the tap of her cane, without the shuffle of crutches. He froze, spatula suspended over the pan, turned around slowly. Nia stood in the doorway. No cane, no crutches, no walker. Just her. 10 years old, wearing pajama pants and a determined expression, tears already streaming down her face. She walked toward him. 1 step, 2, 3. Her gait wasn't perfect, would never be perfect. But she was walking, unassisted, across the living room. 4 steps, 5, 6. Shaking with effort, muscles trembling, but moving forward. 7, 8, 9, 10. Daniel couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything except watch his daughter cross the space between them on her own 2 feet. Nia reached him and grabbed his shirt with both hands, buried her face in his stomach, and sobbed. "I did it, Daddy! I did it!" Daniel dropped to his knees, arms around her, holding her so tight he worried he'd break her. But she was stronger than that, stronger than anyone knew. "I'm so proud of you," he choked out. "I'm so proud of you." Rosa was crying in the doorway, rosary clutched in one hand, the other pressed to her mouth. They stayed there for 10 minutes, crying and laughing, holding each other while the pancakes burned on the stove and nobody cared. That evening, they sat on the sofa. Nia curled against Daniel's side, exhausted from the day's triumph. Her voice came quiet in the dimming light. "Do you think Mama would be proud of me too?" Daniel's chest tightened. He chose his words carefully. "I think your mama made the hardest choice a parent can make. She couldn't give you what you needed, so she put you somewhere someone could. That took courage." "Do you think she thinks about me?" "Every single day." Nia was quiet for a long moment. "I think about her too. Is that okay?" Daniel kissed the top of her head. "That's more than okay. She'll always be part of your story. But I'm so grateful the story brought you to me." "Me too, Daddy." She fell asleep there, breathing steady, finally at peace. Daniel carried her to bed. She was getting so big now, almost too heavy to lift, and tucked her in, kissed her forehead, stood in the doorway watching her sleep like he'd done 1,000 times, like he'd do 1,000 more. He whispered into the darkness, "Thank you for standing on that corner. Thank you for being brave enough to wait." Then to himself, 2 years ago, I thought I had everything. Turns out I had nothing that mattered. That street corner didn't just change Nia's life. It saved mine. He turned off the light and closed the door halfway. In the penthouse that was finally a home, a father and daughter slept. Both of them healing. Both of them saved. Both of them exactly where they belonged. This story teaches us that true wealth is measured in love, not money. Daniel had billions but lived in emotional poverty until Nia showed him what richness really means. Sometimes the worst decisions lead to the best outcomes. LaToya's devastating choice put Nia in the path of someone who could give her everything. Tragedy and miracle can coexist. See people, not disabilities. Everyone on that street looked away. Daniel saw a child who needed help. Family isn't defined by biology. It's built through commitment, sacrifice, and unconditional love. Compassion requires action, not just feeling. Many might have felt sorry for Nia. Daniel got out of the car. Success means nothing without purpose. Healing takes time and patience. Real transformation happens in small, daily choices, not overnight. Sacrifice is the truest expression of love, whether it looks like Daniel's choice or LaToya's impossible decision. Never underestimate a child's strength. Nia's courage would humble most adults. Second chances are miracles we give each other. Nia got a second chance at childhood. Daniel got a second chance to matter. Both were saved. Listen to the voice that says, "Stop the car." That pull toward compassion, even when inconvenient, listen to it. It might change everything. If this story touched your heart, show some love by hitting that like button and dropping a comment with your city and country. Let me know where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss these powerful stories. Share this with someone who needs to remember that miracles happen when humans choose kindness. What would you have done if you were Daniel? Let me know in the comments below.